Your young friend can use some help. This is it. $1 a bottle. It works wonders on wounds.
Works wonders on just about everything, huh?
It can do most anything.
How was it with stings?
Hi everybody. I'm claiming fair use on this video for criticism and commentary because I'll be going over some video clips primarily about Dr. Robert Morse. He's a naturopathic doctor, and in my opinion, he gives some really dangerous medical advice. A little bit of background. You know how you have the kind of long distance friend you talk to a couple times a year or every other year? Well, this introduced me to veganism in general, and like people like Dr. Neil Barnard, who I did, dissected some of his information in another video. And this is when Dr. Robert Morse came to my attention. And this friend was talking to me about doing vegetable and fruit fasting to help reduce the inflammation in my body. And I have a history of Cushing's, which is when an adrenal gland went haywire and flooded my body with cortisol, causing a great deal of damage. And I have hypopituitarism, and I do receive growth hormone treatment. Between the hypopit and the growth hormone, it really pushes a person to the edge of diabetes. So I wanted to look into these things before I jumped in feet first or head first. And it became very clear right away that I'm not going to eat a bunch of fruit. I ended up going ketogenic to help me. And I'm not going to do a bunch of fasting. I'm protein starved. My body needs to be built back up. So, friend, if you're listening, I love you. You have helped me in so many ways. You're a lot smarter than me. And folks, she's an MD in internal medicine, no slouch. That said, we're all on a learning curve, and I've just had to be discerning about these things. Okay, let's move along. Dr. Robert Morse is a doctor of naturopathic medicine, and this is a screenshot of his YouTube channel, and he has 108,000 subscribers. That's no slouchy number. And he does question and answer period. And a woman wrote him in regard to having Cushing's. And Cushing's is a type of disease, a naturopathic doctor is not the time or place for naturopathic medicine. It is an emergency. It's no less of an emergency than a broken leg, although Cushing's, you need the whole diagnostic process. So it's like having to go to the emergency room in slow motion. I've had Cushing's. It's not exactly a well-known illness, but I do, and I'm not a doctor or endocrinologist, but from my own experience, in a way qualifies me to break down what this doctor is saying about Cushing's.
Dr. Morse, thank you very much for taking the time to read this. Oh, absolutely. I wanted to ask you your thoughts on Cushing's disease. I have symptoms of this, and even if it's Cushing's, it's still two fluids and blood and lymph. We need to make sure are clean. Cushing's, well, it's thought to be more pituitary created. Yeah. And
Yes, there's a higher percentage of people with a pituitary tumor compared to having an adrenal tumor, but it's a tumor. It needs a good endocrinologist and surgeon to get that bad boy out. It's just not going to go away on its own. It does not have a thing to do with your blood or lymphatic fluids, period. And one thing I noticed about Dr. Morse, and I'm a little bit amused by it, I'm going to take advantage of it, that this guy throws out more hand signs than a gangster. Gonna 420 with my gangster. Okay, I know a lot of people throw hand signs innocently. I use a thumbs up. I also talk with my hands. But when government officials and celebrities use it a lot, I become skeptical of the words coming out of their mouths. Let's call it what, it could be propaganda. Doesn't matter how I feel about it, but I'm going to take advantage of all his hand signs.
Yeah, so talking about, she's concerned about Cushing's, and it doesn't matter what the label is. However, this is considered to be a hyperactive pituitary, stimulating the production of ACTH, an adrenal corticosteroid hormone. Basically, again, we're going back to the pituitary, controls literally everything. So you're always going there. But it could be a hyperactive adrenal gland as well. Wouldn't have to always be the pituitary. The same thing with the parathyroid and pituitary. Be the same thing with the thyroids and pituitary. So you realize that the master gland can be the problem, or the gland itself can be hyperactive. Remember, the acute and the subacute stages of acidosis can create hyper or hypoactivity, either one. You can see either one. And that's what's sometimes confusing to people. But don't let it be, because acids are stimulating but innervating. And so you can have a stimulating effect, but you will always notice that you can start out in your earlier life with hyperthyroidism, like Mick, Fleetwood Mac, the drummer. Very thin, very Marty Feldman type eyes, that sort of thing. Hyperthyroidism. But as you continue to eat acid-ash foods, and these acute and subacute levels move toward more chronic levels, then you see hypoactivity settling in, always. And then if you look at Mick now, he's bigger, and you can see the effects of hypothyroidism, but also the adrenals, of course, and all of that.
Okay. Yes, the pituitary gland is the master gland. It can, it's involved with all your body hormones, your thyroid. But when is he going to advise this lady to go see a good endocrinologist? This is the burning question. This has nothing to do with acidosis, okay? Or some celebrities' hyper or hypothyroidism.
And she goes on to say, if it's Cushing's, it's still two fluids, blood and lymph, and absolutely, because you're looking at the impact on the pituitary gland. And if you look up Cushing's, you'll find that most of the time they either see a pituitary tumor or something like that. But it can be the word inflammation. Basically, I don't even like that word, because that's a natural immune response. So basically what we would be putting there is acidosis. Acidosis is the stimulant or the ripper. It's like estrogen. It can stimulate a woman or it can rip them, So it's just that thing. But estrogen is not hot enough to do too much ripping.
Dr. Morse acknowledges this woman could have a brain tumor, yet still doesn't advise her to get medical help from an endocrinologist and then a surgeon, either if it's a pituitary or adrenal issue. And there again, he goes down this rabbit trail, whether estrogen's going to be ripping. So thyroid, parathyroid, estrogen. The problem is too much cortisol in the body. And this is extremely damage.
It's the systemic acids that are doing the ripping. If you have estrogen on top of that, like an estrogenic woman has a lot of estrogen production, that's just acids feeding acids, even though estrogen's a milder acid. She goes on to say, my pituitary, so they know it's pituitary. I guess my pituitary has been compromised, so I have been doing your tinctures of upper circ along with thymus support and lymphatic capsules. Now, this would be a case if you suspect a hyper case of any tissue, whether it's pituitary, adrenal. You never would want to take a glandular for sure, or any herbs really for that tissue, because it's in a hyper state. Even though herbs does not create hyperactivity. Herbs create a balancing effect. I still wouldn't do it. I still would not do that. When you have a hyper condition in the body, there's only one remedy except for pharmaceutical suppression, and that is detoxification. Get rid of the acids that are creating this stimulation. When you ask what stimulates, you got to go to chemistry. Well, there's only
The woman states outright her pituitary is compromised. So he goes on to have a conversation with her about home remedies. Wow. So he does state, or you could go the pharmaceutical route. Well, there are certain circumstances where they do use pharmaceuticals to suppress the cortisol, but ideally, medicine wants to get to the root of the problem by removing the source. It's called surgery, and it could be curative. That's a big word in the medical community, but it cures people.
Well, there's only two sides of chemistry. And so when you look at the nature of both sides of chemistry, it's obvious that the nature of the alkaline dominant side is the nature of the blood, and that is the nature of a good, well-run machine. When the acid ash food eaters come in, then that tips the whole ball of wax the other way. And now your body goes from maybe a nutritional ingestion and transport to a protection and defense mechanism. And so the inflammatory responses, and I still submit to you that not only interleukins and the like are inflammatory responses, but also the calcium buffering system is an immune response. The cholesterol system, even though it is the lymphatic system, it still can kick up the LDLs. So you look at these immune responses, and I hate to even use the word immune because it gives you a wrong sense of it, because immunity is your own body fighting against foreign chemistry that you've ingested.
Criminy. This guy waxes away at how you're somehow going to detox, how your system is altered. Okay, cortisol plays key roles in your inflammatory response, your immunity, muscle strength. The list is endless. It plays a key role in your body. You're not going to detox this out of your body. You have surgery or a miracle of God.
Or even just from the very nature of acids, because acids are corrosive. You would never drink a bottle of acetone, would you? That's what takes fingernail polish off of women. Might take some stuff off of you. And stomach and malformations. My stomach is hard. My stomach is hard. Oh, we got to get that right now. No. So her abdomen probably is hard. That could be, because sometimes people put here and they go stomach, but this is really small intestines. Stomach is more up, so you're looking at small intestines. And if you're hard here in the abdominal cavity here where then that's going to be the wall. That means your lymphatic system is backed up in the wall. And that would mean, of course, acidosis creates hardening.
Dr. Morse, you're a real Lulu. Cortisol plays a major role in your metabolism, how your body utilizes fat, protein, and sugar. Okay, got it? Cushing's causes weight gain. It's plain and simple. She doesn't have hardening of the belly. She's accumulating fat from having Cushing's. You get belly fat, and he'll go on to say about how she has neck fat. Well, you could get a double chin and a fat pad on the back of your neck, kind of between your shoulder blades. And Cushing's could alter your cholesterol. Makes you pre-diabetic. I mean, these are serious issues with Cushing's. Okay, knock off this acidosis, ash foods. It's utter insanity.
I don't like stomach is hard type of thing, and sticks out like I'm pregnant. No, that's your bowels. And no. I mean, the Cushing's gives you more fat in places because it stimulates cortisol, which is involved in sugar metabolisms. Or glycogen factors. Seems to be getting better, and my neck is somewhat fat and don't sleep well. Well, here we go. Don't sleep well. Now we're back up in the head area where she's putting problems.
Cortisol also plays a major role in your sleep-wake cycle. If you have Cushing's and are having your body flooded with cortisol in the night, I guarantee you will not sleep. It's called insomnia. I mean, that's just the facts of cortisol and Cushing's syndrome or Cushing's disease, either way. And then this guy goes off on a wild tangent next.
Well, now we're back up in the head area where she's putting problems, pineal gland. So if you have insomnia, the best thing I work on is upper circumbranial nerve, get the sinuses drained. You're going after the cause of this. Remember, when you're looking at tissue, I'm just your pineal gland. I'm just your pineal gland sitting here. What can affect the way I perform? Obviously, my thinking, my genetic memories. That's how I'm performing. But let's say I'm performing pretty good. I do have an influence that very few physicians understand, and it's almost a symbiotic embryonic relationship. And that is transverse bowel relates to head. So you can have problems in your transverse colon and feel it upstairs. I mean,
again, barring a miracle of God, this woman with Cushing's is not going to get well by draining her sinuses. I want to point out too about this Dr. Morse, how he has such great insight that the transverse colon is connected to the head and her sinuses. And he's like a Pied Piper. It's like this cult mentality that he has such great insight into these things. Follow me, follow me. And he uses what I would consider a trigger word, talking about the pineal gland.
I mean, we have like ley lines around the planet. We have energetic lines all through us. We have our energetic pathways that we use in acupuncture and all of this. And you can feel a pain up here in your tooth and it down in your toe. Same meridian line. You know, that sort of thing. But, you know, when you're distended like this, then that's edemic. And that is what you do not want at all costs. You don't want to have ascites or edema.
Talking about meridian lines is not exactly going to help this gal with Cushing's. She has a very serious illness. And further, you describe her belly as being edemic. No, she doesn't. She has belly fat from Cushing's. It's called visceral fat. Edema is like you're swelling around your ankles. And if you do have it on your abdomen, it's called ascites, like from liver disease.
So you really want to get to your kidneys filtering. You know, the adrenals, I get that, a little in a hyperactive state. But to get that hyperactive state out of there, you got to reach up to, if it is indeed the pituitary, you got to reach up. If it's the adrenals, it's easier because you got the kidneys right there. The kidneys and acidosis can hyperstimulate adrenal function. Doesn't have to be ACTH or pituitary problems, but then it can be. And you have to look real close with thyroid and parathyroid issues the same way, those connections. And I'm trying to convey as much as I can over this YouTube about how you identify those things.
This Dr. Morse is getting completely cringe-worthy. I have a new favorite picture of him.
If a person doesn't sleep well, I recommend that one does like well, getting back to my pineal gland just sitting here. So I'm a cell sitting here pretty good, right? Now, I'm depending on chemistry, electrical chemistry, to come give me some energy. So I'm looking for not only chemistry, but I'm looking for electrical chemistry, right? So we can say that's an ionic effect, but there's more to it than that. Because this is the mundane side of chemistry, and there is the physics side of chemistry, the electrical side of chemistry that one doesn't see.
He starts off by going to advise this Cushing's patient how to get her sleep, poor sleep habits. But he goes off onto the pineal gland again. Trigger warning, trigger warning. And then he's going to expound on what an authority he is, okay? Cult mentality.
It is. When you look at the marvel of the human body, and you see some of these nano-level functions, it's incredibly freaky to see these little bitty beings of light travel with ropes and gateways from one organelle to another in the cell at these micro or nano levels. It's freaking amazing how deep life and intricate life is in every level that we can't even see, let alone here. Okay, going back to that. If I am fighting acid chemistry, and I'm fighting non-electrical chemistry in my blood, and even though blood is not going to be acidic, I don't even know how to describe it, because
Oh my, he tries to wax eloquently about the wonders of the human body. But what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? How in the world is this helping a woman with Cushing's? We are going to get to the punchline next with dear old Dr. Morse.
some mysterious disease is flying around looking for me. In what way? Explain what chemical way. See, it's all fallacy. You have to understand cause and effect. Real science rules. You know, and some of these misguided ones throw it back on everybody else and say, you know, you're in pseudoscience. We have real science. So really, then how come your theories are hogwash and a lot of people are dying trying your theory? So I would use a pineal glandular, and I would use 1 or 2 capsules 1 or 2 hours before sleep. It was while I'm working on draining the sinuses, working on my GI tract, the connecting link. I'm going to kidneys, connecting link, lymph drainage, spine straight, connecting link. Remember the lymphatic system, supposedly. So
there you have it. Good old Dr. Morse's advice for a person with a serious illness that requires serious medical care. And he's, quote, gonna treat her pineal gland. I don't know where the accountability is. Or people dispensing this kind of advice is really pretty frightening. And I guess my words of warning are, get your discernment meter up to snuff.
To affect this issue. But when you're in a hyperactive state in any tissue, don't take anything for that tissue. I don't care if it's balancing. Detox is all you need to do is open the doors of the sewer system and get this acidosis out, and you're all finding your remedies by doing that. The body, which is distorting under acidosis, finds its way back and undistorts. All you guys in wheelchairs with ALS and all these things that are diagnosed with you, and you're starting to get all the limbs that are twisting and losing neural function to voice and things, get it back. You've got to get on the other side of chemistry. And remember, your electrical apartment is electrical. It's alive. Cooked foods only take from it. You need foods that give electricity. And those are your raw fruits and berries at number 1 and salads number 2. Well, and anything that's raw in nature. You could cut a piece of meat off. You could kill something and just cut a piece of meat and eat it right there. That is electrical. If you want to live at that level of consciousness. Electricity. And those are your raw fruits and berries at number 1 and salads number 2. You could cut a piece of meat off. You could kill something and just cut a piece of meat and eat it right there. That is electrical. If you want to live at that level of consciousness. I'm going to do a video now on fibromyalgia, lupus, Lyme. Everybody's been bitten by a tick kind of crap, and chronic fatigue, which all kind of fit in there together.
Okay, my opinion is that this guy has got a nasty flippant attitude about people suffering. And I will go on to say that all these illnesses are not created equal. Lupus is a rheumatological illness. Lyme is considered an infectious disease, and they do not do enough for fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue. I've done a lot of outlining on my channel with underlying endocrine disorders. Does this guy mention any of those specialties? Heck no.
These medical doctors should have went to prison for that. When we're at this level of destruction of humans, now it's getting criminal. It's bar none a serious problem. And thank God you guys have some consciousness, and you're willing to help yourselves and grow and learn, and I love you for that. That's important.
I'll keep it simple and ask a rhetorical question. Who is the criminal?
And none of it's curative. It's one thing to have a good surgeon when you need it. But now, going back to pain and swelling and inflammation, no matter where, in the joints, in the muscles, it doesn't matter where, because it's all just a bunch of cells with 2 major fluids controlling the health of those cells. And there's only 2 sides to chemistry. You got the corrosive, the aggressive, the male side of chemistry. That's the acid side of chemistry. That's like soda pop, phosphoric acid. Then you've got the female, the healing side, the base side of chemistry, or what's called alkaline side of chemistry. So understanding the nature of these 2 sides of chemistry, this planet is a predominantly base side chemistry planet. This is a female planet ran by men, basically. And that's why we have so many wars. We have to temper ourselves. This is why you're seeing males and females getting more balanced in their steroids and hormones. It's good to be in the middle. When you're on one side or the other, you get out of balance too much. And so we need to find that middle road where there's more love and humility and peace amongst us all. Because this is, we're all here just having fun. We're here for a short time. And then we're off again onto another adventure. Now, pain in the body. This is an acid side of chemistry. Well, the blood doesn't deal with acids, and you stay alive more than 3 or 4 minutes.
Okay, then. I'm not going to be nice about it. This guy is a nut job. Females and males each need the right proportions of hormones to be healthy. What is up with this guy? Kooky.
And again, it's a sad thing that the allopathic people do not understand the kidneys. And I'll say massage either bought into this that your body dumps its waste back into the kitchen. We don't poop in our kitchens. You have a distinct separate sewer system in your body that deals with waste. Digestive waste go out the colon, but what about waste from 100 trillion cells? Head to toe, these wastes got to come out. If they don't come out, these wastes are stuck in these tissues because the filtration of the kidneys are compromised. And what we have is acidosis. We have the building up of acids, the retention of fluids, but these are acid fluids. And you start to get stiff and tight and sore, pain, swelling, and then decay of cells. Because when you ask what causes a cancer cell or what causes an atypical cell, mostly you're going to use the word acids, and you're going to understand it's like a little baby. Those of you that have had children and you change the diaper sometimes and you see an acid burn on their bottom.
It's the same song and dance for whether it's Cushing's or fibromyalgia. Okay, are you being helped by this, fibromyalgia people? This is kooky. It's all that acidosis. I mean, get real.
You've already started this with fruits and vegetables, understanding from Dan the Man and a lot of these people that we've taught for years, go raw, go fruit over vegetables. There's this insanity out there that somehow fruit's bad and vegetables are good. So these people are definitely smoking something big and fat in the back room. That's never been the case. Fasting has always been universal. Keep that tummy empty sometimes. But fasting has always been universally the way all life heals itself, including the animals. We don't give enough credit to the human body and its ability to heal itself.
There is a time and a place for fasting, but when people are ill, it might be very ill-advised to urge these people to fast. Fruit could be very damaging if you're insulin resistant or diabetic or having fluctuations in your glucose. This is really poor advice. And on top of that, sick people might need extra protein to get well, to build back up. It's wrong to demonize meat and high protein, highly dense, nutritional, heme iron loaded, B12, folate, and you name it, nutrients in meat.
We might have eaten omnivorish for generations, depending where we lived on the planet, but your islanders have never been that much of an omnivorish eaters, and they're the healthiest. I get islanders in here in their upper 90s and 100s all the time, and they're not, strolling in. They're walking in, briskly walking in, because they're healthy. They were raised on fruit.
Of course, islanders are not frutivores. They didn't grow up on fruit. They are omnivores. Now think about it. On an island, they have this enormous resource of fish, for example. Veganism, this fruit and even vegetable diet, is a modern day experience. And I do have a question for you, Dr. Morse. Are you really this ignorant to blame everything on being acidic in your body? To drain your lymphatic will cure everything? And here is my question. Or are you ignorant, or are you paid to spread propaganda? Now, some of the, it isn't just you. I've looked at a lot of studies for fibromyalgia, and there's, they fall short there looking at all the different possibilities for fibromyalgia. But you have made a huge contribution to this next clip and people's opinions, okay? And it is sad.
Hello, YouTube. Validation Boy here. Is fibromyalgia even real? There are no biomedical indicators for fibromyalgia. There are no tests for fibromyalgia. There are literally no diagnostic criteria for fibromyalgia. The symptoms of this so-called condition cannot be proven. There are no legitimate forms of treatment available for fibromyalgia. The only thing they will do for someone with this alleged condition is hook them up with some opioids and a doctor's note that they can use to call out of work. Most of the people who claim to suffer from fibromyalgia are female, and it's a known fact that women are far more likely to fib their way out of a workday than men are. Think about it. It's a unique condition that no doctor can accurately describe, and it grants the patient a free pass out of any social situation they don't feel like participating in. How convenient. It's almost like having a cheat code at life that everyone around you is awkwardly forced to play along with.
There's a YouTube channel called AGA in America, and it's making quite a bit of splash and controversy. And there's one particular thing I want to address about it. This AGA is a Polish gal, so a lot of her channel is done in Polish, a lot of Polish response, but it's got an American response also. She came to America and got married, but the story is pretty tragic. She lost her sister and mother to cancer, found out herself she had colon cancer and had surgery, I believe, for that. She had a preventative mastectomy done to prevent cancer, and she showed up with a brain tumor. It's very sad and tragic. Most of the controversy around AGA has been about the malnourishment of her children, and I certainly don't have any argument with that. Their children and infants are in a very developmental stage, and a fruitarian diet, nothing but fruit, is completely inadequate for children. So I totally get it, the controversy. I have a clip from Frank Tufano to kind of introduce my take on it.
Diagnosis of a brain tumor, her husband had the nerve to imply they were more educated than professional doctors on certain topics.
When we have our meetings with these professionals, we ask a lot of questions. Oh yeah. And we usually, we're well researched before we have the meetings with them. And so we sometimes know a little bit more than they do about certain topics, and they're kind of surprised at that.
And by no means am I saying this isn't possible, but you're speaking awfully highly of your intelligence when you're starving yourselves and your children half to death on a nonsensical diet. Then he starts talking about detoxing after her pregnancy.
Now, after the pregnancy, we had already discussed the idea of her going to, or detoxing afterwards. Right. She's wanted to detox for a long time, do some kind of a fast or something.
But I couldn't because I was pregnant, and you can't really do that stuff. Don't do that stuff when you're pregnant. Yes.
Right. So we've always been putting that on hold, and so we were kind of waiting for a good time to do it. I
did do the juice cleanse, if you want to call it like that. People use all kinds of phrases and words to describe that. But anyways, I did make a video about it, and I'm not sure which one will go first, this one or the juice one. But I did do 2 weeks on juices only, and then the whole month, or even more than a month, more really, because I still mostly drink now. I eat, but I mostly drink juices. So I did that. This was something that I wanted to do.
I can't make this up. She literally did a juice fast after giving birth to her second child, a period of time where the mother is normally breastfeeding her child on nourishing foods, getting it to develop optimally. That being said, this woman did have her breasts removed several years ago out of fear of cancer. Then this dimwit genuinely thought a juice cleanse would shrink her tumor.
I was pretty positive about it. I felt that it would either be the same size, the size of a nickel, or maybe even smaller because of the juice cleanse and the fact that she'd had a really good diet all through the pregnancy. So I was very optimistic.
But guess what happened?
She didn't even wait too long. She said just, "Hi, how are you?" And, you know, normal thing. And then she sat down and she said that unfortunately she said the tumor increased in size significantly, she said. And that meant 25%. So it's 25% bigger than it was before I got pregnant. The last scan a few months before I got pregnant.
Which is
almost right before I got pregnant, I think.
Which is about, I think it was about 2 centimeters, or about the size of a quarter.
And she thinks her juice cleanse was healing it. Oh my God.
Now, the oncologist said that it's possible that I had a headache. I had the headaches because of the brain tumor that I have, which I don't believe in such a coincidence, to be honest, that it started happening at the same time when I was juicing. So let me finish. So when Nathan said that that the tumor is doing something, that there's something happening inside, then I thought, okay, so what if I did that? What if the juice cleanse started like doing something with the tumor in my head to get rid of it? And that's why things started happening.
It's busy healing.
Yes, because I do not believe in such a coincidence that my headaches mean, you know, the symptom of the tumor started happening at the same time when I did the juice cleanse. I just, you can think whatever you want and you can have your own opinion, but I personally don't believe that this is the case.
Well, the fact that after the juice cleanse, your headaches went away. If
Right, when I
it
started
was
eating,
the tumor, then you would have
I would still have, exactly, I would still have.
I do understand the importance of having hope in your life, but you know what? Illness strikes, and you know, if you want to have a takeaway message, people, please be discerning about your quote research. And what's really tragic to me is, you know, I have come across legitimate medical research into a ketogenic diet being very beneficial for brain tumors. I don't remember who it is, but if anybody really needs to know, I'll dig it up for you. But I get the hope issue. But these people are to the point of delusional. Her tumor grows and she's getting better. It just, you know, and a tumor the size of a quarter in the brain, there's not much room up there. Okay, this is a large tumor. So we need to take responsibility for our own quote research. But more importantly, if there's a takeaway message from this, is these who in their right mind would take this woman's money to do a juice fast or any kind of fast in her anorexic condition, or at least she looks anorexic, right after giving birth to a baby. This is outrageous to me, that a health care provider facilitating a fast for this woman should have their feet held to the fire, as well as Dr. Robert Morse encouraging someone with Cushing's to take supplements for their pineal. I mean, these people really need to have their feet held to the fire. I mean, that's the takeaway from all of this. Okay, you guys have a great day, and thanks so much for listening.
Your young friend can use some help. This is it. $1 a bottle. It works wonders on wounds.
Works wonders on just about everything, huh?
It can do most anything.
How was it with stains?